What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Dangle Bet Selly, presented by PointsBet Canada, right here live on our FTN Network YouTube page, coming your way on Game Plus Network as well. If you're listening on iTunes and Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to your favorite podcasts, Eric Young and Chris Meaney here with you, and we always appreciate your time here on this thirsty Thursday, May 11th. 2 games on the ice tonight. 2 games to recap from last night. Maybe we take a look at some series odds, some Conn Smythe odds, as we inch a little bit closer to round 3 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. EY in the house 48 hours ago was not feeling his Maple Leafs. They were done. They're dead in the water. Sweep on the horizon. And now it looks like you're wearing the old vintage Doug Gilmour blue and white.
Killer instinct, boys. Killer instinct. I'm back.
Killer instinct. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. He's feeling great here today.
So listen, if you've been a Maple Leafs fan, even in the 2000s, you understand this. You understand how mentally distraught you can be on any given day. I've been a Maple Leafs fan since like 1990s. Like the early 90s. So
Gilmour.
Probably even before that, probably like late 80s is when I really started following hockey. So I've been a fan since then, and I can say whatever I want. And the reality is it looked like they were dead. And if they would have played like they played in any of the first 3 games, Florida would have beat them. But they didn't, because it's hockey and everything's nuts. And they're going to be the 5th team to come back from a 3-0 deficit.
Oh my goodness! Here we go. Is that where you're at? Is that where you're at?
If they play like they played last,
one game has totally changed your tune.
Yeah, well, they played
that game was an outlier.
What they're capable. I watched every second of that game, and there was really no point. I mean, obviously, Florida's a great team. I'm taking nothing away from them. They could beat the Maple Leafs. They only need to win one more. Obviously, the odds and everything is in their favor, but the spark of Wall coming in and playing really, really well, and also the Maple Leafs playing how they played, and there was significant changes in how they forechecked. The lines were different. I mean, it was really good coaching by Sheldon Keefe, and anyone that says any different is wrong and not paying attention. This was a different team with a different strategy, a different energy. I mean, obviously, their backs are against the wall, but their backs are going to be against the wall for the rest of the series. They will win on Friday, and I'm going to bet on it heavy.
I just
and then maybe
I like the
Saturday
way they played last night.
I burn all my Maple Leafs jerseys.
I was going to say, like,
a little bonfire.
Yeah, I get it. The fan base, you guys are crazy, though. You guys are. And I totally understand it. It's hockey. It's the highs and the lows, right? You're feeling a team, and then they play one good game. Like that could be an outlier.
Yep.
You just talked about how they played one good game. They played 2 good games here in the playoffs, but it was a very strong game. I could see the things that you were saying as well. I think, it was probably one of their best defensive performances of the season as well. Florida is a team that generated a lot of shot attempts inside, the slot, high danger chances we talk about a lot on the show. And they only had 6 yesterday as well, but I still think Florida is going to win this series. I could see the Leafs winning game 5 and heading back to Florida to kind of get it done, but it was a tight game. And, we look at it from a 5-5 standpoint. The Panthers had 5 more shot attempts. They had 1 fewer shot. They had 4 more scoring chances, and the high danger chances were 11-8 there. So a few more high danger chances than I thought from the Florida Panthers, but only 8 in total and 2 in each of the first 2 periods. So definitely a good performance from the Leafs. The big boys showed up. Nylander finally scored a goal. Got a little bit of puck luck, right? You got to have those things work your way. Puck goes off the knee and goes right to him.
He's been pretty good. And last night was his best game in the playoffs.
He was on the wrong side of the
string all night. He was, even when he's not playing good, like there's things you see that he does that there's very few, like he's a one-man zone entry machine. Like he makes it look easy, but like, I mean, there's teams that don't have a player that can do that, right, at all. And he just weaves his way through, and then all of a sudden they have control and have the puck in the offensive zone. It's beautiful to watch. And last night it was a masterful performance by Nylander.
It was a good performance from him. Marner finds a way to score. What did you think of some of the tough stuff at the end with Matthew Tkachuk and trying to ragdoll Mitch Marner?
Yeah, of course, of
Yeah.
course, we're gonna do that. I mean, like it's playoffs. It's what's going to happen. I mean, me personally, I would, I'd like Marner to push back a little bit more than just smiling, but that might be a way to, Kachuk wants you to engage, and when
Right.
you just smile at him. Pretty sure he called him a bitch, which is pretty funny. He certainly is not,
No.
but I mean, it's inevitable, right? Especially with Florida and some of the players they have, absolutely inevitable. The Gudas hit, I don't know. Yes, it was as far as a hit goes, but is that not boarding, or am I confused?
It's
boarding not
/ boarding / charging. It was kind of late. You can when you watch it back,
the whistle had gone.
The whistle went. I mean, the whistle had gone. It was super loud. There's a couple things from that. I'm glad you brought it up. So the whistle is loud. When you watch it again, there was a lot going on. There's a lot of different noises, and you could hardly hear the whistle, but the whistle definitely went before, and then it blew, a couple of times after that. And it looked like when you just watched the video of Gudas, just the camera on him before the hit, it looks like he charges from the blue line in. But also there was a loose puck in front of the net. So it kind of looks like he's skating as hard as he can towards
the net, right?
To crash the net. And then the puck leaves the front of the net and goes to the corner. And then he kind of changes gears, stops skating for a little bit, and then kind of picks it up again towards the corner and just flattens Buddy, like puts him through the boards.
Completely. And Kampf is fine, and it's a grown man sport, and everyone's fine. But I mean, to me, that's boarding, and I don't know if that's not boarding. I don't know what boarding is.
Sure. Yeah,
people are like, "Oh, it's a clean hit." The hit itself, body on body, is clean. But I posted it on Twitter. The NHL's description of what boarding it is, and boarding is hitting a player that's out from the boards into the boards in a physical and violent manner. If that's not boarding, I don't know what to tell you. And look, it's a dumpster fire league when it comes to this stuff, right? Like there's no consistency. I don't think he should be suspended. I think there should have been a penalty. I think it's boarding, but I mean, they miss a lot. And I get that the game is super fast, and I'm not putting this on the refs, but the player safety stuff, like it's just insane. Like there's just no rhyme and reason. Anyway, Michael Bunting gets high sticked. They call the penalty. He's clearly bleeding from his face where the stick hit him.
Should have been 4.
And they don't change it. They're wrong.
Yeah.
That's a 4-minute penalty. Period. And you can love or hate Michael Bunting all you want. He's bleeding from his face.
I know.
No matter the amount.
Should have been.
That's 4. a 4-minute penalty. Period.
Yeah, by the rule, we all know that. Yeah, bite your lip.
Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
Except for that.
They don't call a lot of. They don't call a lot of boardings these days.
No,
but I more so like something from behind. I see like if there's a hit from behind, like the 3 feet away from the boards, and just kind of get.
But in the NHL rule book, it doesn't say from behind. The letter of the law says that's boarding. And as soon as I saw it, that's what I thought. I mean, he's not against the boards. He's out. It's the most dangerous part of the ice, right? I would rather get cross-checked in the back, standing in front of the net, than a guy hit me when I'm that distance from the boards.
For sure.
Everyone's fine, and there's no big deal, but that's a boarding penalty.
A couple things correct yesterday. Just always like to go through the process, see if it was correct. It's just hard to find some consistency when it comes to some of these props, but we were on the Leafs yesterday over at
FTN.com, right? Like, it's just so many one-sided games. Everything's crazy.
It is. I saw something on the broadcast last night when I was watching the Oilers and the Golden Knights. I think it was Brian Boucher had said that I think it was like roughly 66% of the games in round 2, there was at least a 4-goal lead, which is crazy to think about. We're going to have the Carolina Hurricanes and the New Jersey Devils go at it tonight, game 5. And every game we've seen a goalie get pulled, 3 on the side of the Devils. We're going to see the Stars and the Kraken here as well. And then last night, I mean, we did get a good game, a 2-1 game. The Leafs are up 2-0. And then we had a late goal from Sam Reinhart to make it pretty tight. But yeah, I see the same things that you saw in the Leafs game. I mean, the effort was there, but honestly, it had to be. Like, this is
It had
such
to
a
be.
large hill for them to climb. And they do have 3 more wins to get it done, and they're going home. But I still think that this Panthers team is going to find a way to win. But the odds have changed considerably. I mean, before yesterday's game, the Leafs were 25-1 to win the Stanley Cup. They were 9-1 in some spots to come back and win this series. And I'm seeing right now they're plus 320 to win the series and minus 425 for the Florida Panthers. And these are the odds for tomorrow night because we won't be with you. So let's just go through these games. Since we're on them, we'll just continue to roll through them. We're on the Leafs here. So tomorrow, minus 180 favorites at home, and the Panthers at plus 155. When I talk about the process, I talk about Brendan Montour. Didn't get 3 shots for a long, like he had 3 shots and at least 3 shots in 4 straight games, 6 of 8. Yesterday, he finishes with 1 shot at 5-5 and 2 total, but he has 6 attempts on goal at 5-5. And if you include all strengths, he has 7 attempts and 2 shots. We did get Sam Bennett last night, who had 3 shots on 8 attempts, got one pretty late, had him into a parlay with Connor McDavid. And I don't think we had any other Florida Panthers. On the Leafs side, I'll just roll through again. I like to roll through some of the shot props or shot attempts for you guys at 5-5. Bennett has been really good, especially at home. The series will shift to Toronto, but he has been pretty much automatic over the last 2 years in eclipsing 2.5 shots. Barkov has 4 shots and 4 attempts. Verhaeghe has 4 attempts, but only 2 shots on net. As for the Leafs, the big boys did show up, as I mentioned. You know, he had the goal from Marner, had the goal from William Nylander, finally finding a way to score a goal. So much like bad puck luck with him. He finds a way to get a power play goal, a bounce off the ref in the corner right to him, and it still almost didn't go in. It had to go off like the arm and shoulder, and a nice little bounce there near the goal line to go in. But he has at 5-5, 5 attempts and 2 shots. Matthews with 7 attempts and 3 shots. John Tavares, 4 attempts and 4 shots. And at all strengths, it was Matthews, of course, that led the way. And it's been Matthews and Nylander the entire series. They are 1-2. Matthews has 1 more shot attempt than Nylander, but they're 1-2 in shot attempts at 5-5. And at all strengths, they have 4 each in terms of shots last night. So Willie Nylander shows up. Needed 1 more from Ryan O'Reilly. Needed an assist from Morgan Riley. Didn't get a couple of those things. Low-scoring game, tight checking game. And I think that's the way the Leafs are going to play moving forward. They're going to have to just take care of their own business in front of their net. And that's what I've noticed from them, especially in this series. They've been a little sloppy. They've been a little careless in their own end, and Florida's been creating turnovers. So if they can take care of their own end, maybe it was because I'm sure they'll tell you, like every player will tell you, they have confidence in their backup or their third string goalie when they get in between the pipes. But let's be honest, when you see a guy making his first NHL start, you want to help him out. You want to make sure you're detailed on the X's and the O's, and they were definitely in their own end. I thought they were a lot more structured last night.
Yeah, I mean, just for me was, especially on the defensive side, was urgency. You know, sticks in the lanes, you know, pressuring the puck carrier in front of them and forwards coming down and pressuring, back checking. Like it, I mean, it really was a defensive masterpiece against a team that they just want to play chuck wagon hockey, right? Like just hair on fire. That's what Florida wants. That's how they want to play. And the Leafs barely allowed it. I mean, there was not very, very little sustained offensive zone time. And when you take that away from Florida, it's difficult for them to get going. And it was like that the majority of the game. Like Florida definitely pushed back and they had their moments, right? Obviously, the goal squeaks through wall. It's, you know, not a lucky goal because, you know, there's no such thing at this time of year. But, I mean, it's one that he's in position to stop, and it just kind of squeaks through him somehow, which is unfortunate. I was hoping for him to get a shutout, but they won the game. That's what's important. And like you said earlier, the most impressive thing to me was the defensive urgency. This is, you know, it's what they needed. You know, the first 3 games, there just literally was no urgency in their game at all. And the Florida Panthers were just in a different gear. And the Maple Leafs matched that and matched it at the most important time. Obviously, your back's against the wall, but we've seen this team crumble in that position lots of times. And they didn't last night. And I'm expecting a same and maybe an even better effort on Friday.
So, I mean, if you're drinking the Leafs Kool-Aid like EY is here, instead of taking what
I'm
did I
not
just?
saying it's going to happen.
I'm
I'm
just
saying
kind of,
I'm cheering for it to happen, and I believe that it can happen because of the
and I
game last night.
listen. I'll tell you what. I believe that it can happen as well. This team is good. Toronto's good. They're deep. We haven't seen good efforts from them. We saw one last night.
True.
I'm just thinking that maybe it's on the side of being an outlier. You know what I mean? Like we just
Maybe.
saw their best performance and they hardly won. Let's see what they can do in the next game. I think that they are going to win game 5 at home. I'm with you on that one. And I do believe that it'll be over in 6, but I'm just saying, like, tongue in cheek, I'm joking with you. Obviously, I know that you feel like it's a long road, tough
Oh,
hill to climb, though all
it's
those
still
stupid
nearly impossible.
cliches.
It's still nearly
But
impossible, but it's not as impossible as it was last night.
fair enough. And it's one game at a time. And like we said, one game, you steal one in Florida, you go back home in your own barn, and all of a sudden you get one more, and then you're in the series and you create doubt.
If they
And
win Friday,
momentum's crazy.
anything can happen.
So all I'm saying, if there's anyone in here that really does believe in the Leafs to, come back here, instead of taking plus 320, just take them to win the cup or take them to win the Eastern Conference. Because if a team that's going to win
Right.
4 straight, they're just going to be straight up feeling themselves again. And there'll be no, we want Hurricanes chance because they'll already be on to the third round waiting for them. They are 13-1 to win the cup over at Caesars, over at Bet Rivers, and they are plus 320. I think the series is going to be over in 6. Want to say what up to the crew here in the house, and we'll wrap up from the Leafs conversation. Adam Szymanski in the house. Morning, boys. Is it too much to ask for a competitive game again tonight? That's it, right? There hasn't been a lot of competitiveness in this second round. There's been massive blowouts. The Hurricanes have blown out the Devils, in the 3 games. The Devils did it to them. We've seen it in the Vegas and the Seattle series. We've really seen it in the Florida series. I think that one's been a little bit more competitive, to be honest. We've seen a couple closer games, especially in game 2. I think there was a couple late turnovers and Florida came back to win that game, but it hasn't been ultra competitive, and especially the Vegas and the Edmonton series has been completely one-sided every single game. But my goodness, that one is nasty. We'll probably save that one for the end. We'll stick with the East and get into Carolina here in just a minute. Troy in the house, good morning. Can the Devils get eliminated already? I want Columbus Blue Jackets to hire Andrew Burnett as their head coach. We'll see what does happen there. Leo Carlson compares his game to Alexander Barkov. Sign me up. We did have, I don't know if we showed it here on the show. This was the mock I had for Mean Streets. I believe we may have visited this on Tuesday, but Connor Bedard, of course, to the Blackhawks, Adam Fantilli to the Anaheim Ducks. He's minus 400 to be the second pick overall. I do have Troy, your Blue Jackets taking Leo Carlson. I think they could take Michkov here as well. I do believe Michkov is kind of a project. When I say that, it could be very similar to Kirill Kaprizov, who spends a couple of years in the KHL and doesn't come over until 2024, 2025. That's certainly possible. I think the Blue Jackets can turn things around a lot quicker than most teams on this list due to some of the injuries they had and some of the young pieces they already have on their squad, where the Sharks are more of a project team. I would expect maybe Erik Karlsson to get shipped off in the offseason. I don't know if I expect it. I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen, though. And Timo Meier, who they moved on from, they could have easily decided to keep him and sign him as a RFA, but he's gone. I think Michkov is the third best player in this draft class, in my opinion. Will Smith to the Canadians after. I would love if Michkov went there. They're a couple years away. They can afford to continue this rebuild and have him come over in a couple years. Ryan Backer, the first defenseman off the board to diehard MMA podcast Coyotes. I got Dvorsky to the Flyers, and I think if the Coyotes don't take Ryan Backer, they'll take a defenseman there at 7. I got Zach Benson to the Capitals, Ryan Leonard to the Detroit Red Wings, and Oliver Moore there. Probably the best skater in the class there to the Blues. And this is the impact, EY, that a guy like Connor Bedard can have in a market like Chicago. Do you think that the Coyotes would have sold all these season tickets like the Blackhawks did immediately after winning the NHL draft lottery? This from
The
Ben
arena
Pope.
only holds 5,000 people.
The Blackhawks have already sold $2.5 million worth of season ticket plans for the 2023-24 season in 1.5 hours since winning the number 1 pick. Of course, that was just a tweet that happened 2 hours after the NHL draft lottery. So I'd imagine they've sold a few more, including more than 500 new full season plans. What are your expectations for Connor Bedard from a real life standpoint and a fantasy standpoint in year 1?
Well, I mean, the Chicago Blackhawks have some heavy lifting to do. Financially, they have tons of space, right? But if they, plug him into the team that's there currently, it's going to be a disaster for him. I mean, one, they need some size and some toughness to protect this kid because he's going to get beaten up, right? Like every year we see this, young guys coming into the league, older guys are physical. Like we're seeing it with Jack Hughes, we're seeing it with Matty Beniers. Like in the playoffs, it gets even more ratcheted up, but it's definitely physical. The players that are already playing in the leagues wants to see if there's pushback from these young players. They want to see if they can handle the physicality of the league. He's a child, and he's not a very big child.
17 years old.
Right. He's a child. He's got, almost 4 years until he can legally buy a beer in the United States. So they need to surround him with some toughness. I don't care. People are going to say, oh, it doesn't matter. And, toughness is gone. If you don't have somebody out there that can make people pay for taking runs at him, he's going to be abused. And it's just the way it is. And it's the way it's been for a long time. It's definitely not as much like that now as it used to be, but it's definitely still happens. And the truth is like, who's he going to play with? Right? Like, I mean,
the Chicago all their decent young pieces away.
They're brutal. Like the Arizona Coyotes have more money on their LTIR than their starting roster, but their starting roster is still better than Chicago's, which is insane to say that a team can beat. Like Gary Bettman can say whatever he wants. Chicago Blackhawks did not want to win a single hockey game this year. The players want to win. The coach wants to win. Everybody that works there wants to win. The GM and the owner didn't want them to win a single game, and they went for it in the biggest way. I mean, this team on paper is embarrassing. So they got a lot of heavy lifting to do to surround him with some good players.
He can't say with a straight face that there's no tanking in the NHL when you trade like young players like Kirby Dach.
He's going to, and he'll never admit otherwise, right? But I mean, unless you're brain dead, like that's what they did, and they won. Here we are.
And they did win. They moved from 3-1. Ducks come down a little bit. So Bedard, 71 goals, 143 points in 57 WHL games. Think about that for a second. 71 goals, 143 points in 57 WHL games. He dominated the World Junior Championship. He had a 23-point showing with 9 goals as an underager. So I think expectations for him, like if he had a 60-point season as a rookie, I think that would be totally fine. I don't think he's going to come in and have like a hit the century mark. He's fairly young and small, like we talked about, but the dedication is there. He does remind me, like some of his qualities remind me of Crosby. He did talk about Crosby being his idol, talking about how he carried himself as a player, a young player in the NHL, and how he like just dedicated himself to the craft, hardworking player. So I think we'll see a lot of that from Bedard, and I think he'll accept the challenge of trying to bring back an original 6 team to their glory days. But
it's great for the NHL, right?
Great for the NHL. It is. Again, from a fantasy standpoint, this guy's outside the top 3 rounds. Like people are going to reach on him as like a late first round, early second round pick. And I think that may be a little bit of a mistake. As for Fantilli, he is surrounded around more talent. Zegras, they got a bunch of centers now, McTavish and Zegras, but Zegras potentially could move to the wing. One of those guys can move to the wing. Fantilli can play on the wing if he wants to, but I think it's a good consolation prize for the Ducks fans out there. Hobie Baker, winner last year, is
Fantilli's a surefire number 1. If Bedard's not in the thing, like Fantilli for sure is first, right? It's not. I mean, I think it's those 2 guys, and then past that, it's a complete crapshoot depending on the team. And
the draft starts at pick 3.
Yeah.
30 goals and 65 points in 36 games as a freshman for Michigan. Let's get back to the NHL talk, and let's get after tonight. I do want to say what up to a couple more people that are hanging out with us. Always want to say what up to you guys, to the squad. Yes. Troy, again, after seeing how some very good regular season teams are not able to implement their style of play in the playoffs, what variables do you think mean the most to playoff success? It's a really good question. And I think it kind of ties into the Hurricanes tonight and what they're able to do a lot of people, myself included, kind of counting them out, heading into the playoffs, losing guys like Svechnikov and Pacioretty, even though he was only with the team for a couple of weeks, and Teuvo Teravainen breaking their hand. I think, for me, 5-5 numbers are very important. I mean, I just don't rattle them off for myself on the show. I like to look at them a lot. I like to look at what teams drive offense, what teams create high danger chances, what teams eliminate high danger chances. It's kind of the Carolina Hurricanes right there in a nutshell. And special teams are very important to me. And I think that stuff carries over as well. We're seeing it on the Oilers and the Leafs side. Like, those are the two deadliest power plays remaining in the NHL, and probably the two deadliest all season. When they get on the power play, they usually capitalize. We've seen it from the Oilers nonstop. Even a team like Vegas, who's so disciplined, and we'll get into the Pietrangelo crap from last night a little bit later on. But that's a team that's been on edge in this series. They had taken the second fewest penalties, I think, the first or the second fewest all year long. They take like 9 in the first 2 games, and the puck's in the back of their net a ton. So I don't know. Special teams is very important, but the Hurricanes don't have a great power play. They have a really good penalty kill. So that's part of it as well. But the 5-5 numbers are certainly numbers that I like to take a look at in the regular season and how that carries over. Troy says, for instance, I've noticed the teams with bottom 6 forwards chipping in 4 points consistently seem to be winning a lot of series. Curious to know your thoughts. I mean, that's very important as well. You normally don't see a team like even the Lightning when they won those 2 cups. It wasn't all the top 6. We talked at length about Yanni Gourde and Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman. The bottom 6 has to contribute. When the Habs went on their run and they went to the Stanley Cup Finals, it wasn't actually just Suzuki and Caulfield. No, it wasn't a team loaded with stars, but they got contributions from Paul Byron and Josh Anderson and Corey Perry and Mark Stahl. Like, Joel Armia was leading the team in goals for the first couple of rounds. Like, you do have to have those bottom 6 players contribute. And as we transition into Carolina here tonight, we got to give some love to a guy in Jordan Martinook. Like, this is a guy that is just your average bottom 6 player. If you haven't watched him and you're just watching him here in the playoffs, he's been very noticeable. He does absolutely everything in terms of killing penalties, blocking a shot, finishing every check. He's been contributing more than Aho or anybody else. I mean, Nate just had the 2-goal game the other night, but Jordan Martinook has at least 2 points in every single game of this series. He's got goals in 3 straight games. He's got at least 2 shots in each of these 4 games. He's throwing his body around, and he's only playing anywhere from, I mean, there was a game he played 20 minutes against the Islanders, but that was overtime. He played 11:58 the other night, 13:40 the night before. He's kind of living in that 13-15 minute range, but these are the type of players that you need to have on your team to do those dirty things. You just really need all 4 lines. You just need everyone going, man. Like, it can't just be your core. It has to be everyone going. Bottom 6 of
I mean, the variables of, like, look, I mean, Austin Matthews is getting chances. He's getting looks. He's got a ton of shots, and the puck is just going for him. And it's the same with Nylander. I mean, Marner, he needed that probably the most out of any of them. But we see this every playoff. Some player, that's not known for contributing offensively or whatever, they start to feel it. And you're right. And every time Jordan Martinook is on the ice, he's making something happen. He's making things happen when he's on the ice regardless. It's not things that you notice, like forechecking and defensive positioning, right? Like, that's why he plays in the NHL. But he's doing those things, and he's assisting on important goals. He's scoring important goals. It's awesome, man. And it's like when Tampa went to the Cup and Yanni Gourde was. Not only was Yanni Gourde one of their most important players, he was playing the most minutes, right? Yeah. Like, that's a master class. You're seeing the same thing from Brind'Amour. I would imagine that, Martinook's ice time will go up, will continue to go up as long as he keeps playing like this.
So I see some people are giving some props here. Jay in the house, G-Man Jay. It is a Marty party, baby, a big Hurricanes guy, and you got to be feeling pretty good about your Canes at the moment. I'm sure you've done this a couple times over at Rally. Marty's the heart of the team. Martinook over 1.5 points plus 675 over at BetMGM. I mean, that's worth a little bit of a sprinkle, considering he has at least 2 points in every single game in this series. Right? What he's been doing. The shot prop is just a touch juice. I've been putting him into a parlay, and I see somebody in the house earlier. I haven't said what up to everybody here. We do want to try to get through the entire show, try to say what up to everybody here first. And I think I saw... Yeah, Montour's shot prop didn't hit last night. I think I saw somebody else saying they need a parlay. It was Leon Draisaitl. Yeah, here it is here from Lee in the house. Leon Draisaitl one shot killed my bankroll. Me too, dude. Like, just crushed me. I had a parlay with like him and McDavid and Hyman and Kane, a bunch of them that kind of came through in Bouchard, but Draisaitl was the no-show last night. This would be the guy that I would put into a parlay. We've been doing him and Joe Pavelski 1.5, but Pavelski is now 2.5. I think we can find somebody else, but he's minus 186 for 2 shots. And I just don't understand why books do this, but minus 220 for 2 shots. Why not just make it 2.5 at plus money? I just don't fully get it, but the shots have been there. 3, 2, 4, 0, 7, 1, 2, 4, 2, 3. So he's had at least 2 shots in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of his 10 games. It's a pretty good track record there for a guy that's not getting a lot of ice time early. And the dude is throwing his body around too. Like, he's got 5 hits in his last 2. He had a game there with another game there against the Islanders in the last round with 5 hits. He's plus 205 for an assist. And he's plus 112 for a point. That's both of those are over at FanDuel. And I'd do a little bit of a sprinkle on the Szymanski call there at 2 points, plus 675. I mean, not too bad. Not too bad at all. What do you like from this game? Nate just popped off. Brent Burns has been getting the attempts, hasn't been really shooting. You think of pushback here from the Devils tonight? Can you think that they extend this series?
Yeah, I think there will be pushback tonight. I think they start Akira Schmid. I mean, the reality is
oh my goodness,
he had one. They can't get a save, but he had one bad period. You know, he was very good in the regular season. He saved them from the grips of death when he came in against the Rangers. And I believe he starts it, and I believe we see more of the same. I mean, if you know, you're looking at the math and the odds of it, the majority of the time he's played really, really well. He had one bad period. I mean, it was horrific. I mean, it was horrific. And then Vanacek came in and was just as bad, maybe worse. I don't know why they went away from him, starting Vanacek in the next game. Like, he had two saves, and the New Jersey fans are chanting his name, and then it was just like, bing, 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 goals in the net, goals in the net. It was piss poor effort, and they need to get a save. I mean, like, Carolina is feeling it right now. It's
Devils are done, right? They're not going to come back. I think the Leafs have a better chance of coming back than the Devils.
I mean, I'll say, like, when the Leafs have been outplayed, except for the last game in the series, badly. But I don't know if they've been outplayed as bad as the Devils. And the truth is it's the same thing that we've said all year about the Devils is the goaltending, right? Like, we know about Akira Schmid because he played a few times this year, but like right now, I think undoubtedly he's their best option. And that's terrifying for a team, right? Like, these guys are not super great defensively, but they haven't really wanted or tried to be that. Right, exactly what Lindy Ruff said. The minute they stop moving their feet and stop skating, they get run over. And I don't know why they're stopped. Like, they've been this elite skating, elite speed, elite pressure team all season. And then all of a sudden, the players are choosing to not play that way. That's your identity. If you have a chance in hell to win this series, that's what you got to do. So we'll see. Carolina looks amazing. They're making me eat my words.
Making a lot of us eat our words, man. I mean, they just have the best coach in the NHL, and I'm willing to say
that. The age-old story of you got to learn to lose before you learn to win. And New Jersey, I mean, nobody, including probably most of the people that work there, thought they would be in this position, right? And nobody thought they were going to be this good. I thought they would be competitive, but not this good. And they're way ahead on their rebuild. You know, this is a very good hockey team. In the end, it's going to come down to goaltending like it always does in the playoffs. And if the Devils win tonight, and I'm betting a bet on them to win tonight. And I think the big reason is going to be Akira Schmid.
You think he's going to show up tonight? Yeah.
Yep.
I think that the Devils win tonight as well. I think that they force another game in this series and go back home. And then I think that's when it's over. For the most part, the Hurricanes have been the better team at 5-5, but it's been fairly tight. I mean, but from a goal standpoint, 15-9, those are the goals at 5-5.
Getting scoring from all over, like we just talked about Martinook, right? Like this is how you win. You're getting goals from players that don't typically score.
The Devils have a few more, high danger chances in scoring chances, but the Hurricanes have been a little bit tighter there. Jersey looks like they're just a little sloppy with some turnovers and stuff. So let's call a couple things from this game and move on. I think, again, I'll probably be pretty shy when it comes to some of these props. I do like Natchez, who's cleared in back-to-back games. He had 4 and 5 shots over the last 2.
We called him on Tuesday, and he had the best game of the playoffs for him. So I was proud of that one.
Yeah, actually, I was looking at somebody else. He had the 2 goals, and I just want to take a look at his shots. It has been mostly defensemen, as we've taken, we talked about in this series. It's been mostly like Brady Shea and Brent Burns and Pesci. These are the guys that are leading the way for the Hurricanes in terms of shots and attempts. But yeah, Martin Natchez has been pretty much right there through the entire playoffs. 3-2, 4-3 in this series against the Islanders. He was 3-3, 3-3, 1-2. So he's been pretty consistent clearing. Unders are kind of the way to go, but I have a hard time with some of them that are like minus 175 for an under. So it's just really tough to kind of get behind.
It's no fun. And 2, it's no fun.
It's no fun. Jack Hughes, I'm just looking at the big boys. Nico Heischer's got 9 shots in his last couple. He's been hitting more so at home than on the road, but I would go Natchez, Hughes, and Nico Hischier, just the big boys for the Devils. And there is something to be said about, an elimination game, if they're down by a goal or down by 2 goals, double shifts, long shifts, just something like that, right? Unders are no fun to watch. I mean, if we're following trends, the over's hitting tonight because there's been a goalie pulled in every single game, but it could be a lot like the Leafs where they just tighten things up, and maybe the Devils try to tighten things up as well. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. That's it for me. I think we'll see. My gut tells me like a 3-2 overtime win by the Devils.
I got Natchez and Aho for Carolina and Timo Meier and Hughes. Timo Meier looks like San Jose peak playoffs Timo Meier. And if you're a New Jersey Devils fan, you got to be pretty happy about that. He looks just like a wrecking ball out there right now.
Yeah, he does. AS in the house. I think this came up. Yeah, Stamkos sent down his first year. I do remember that. So let's not have crazy high expectations. That was old school hockey last night. That was old school hockey. We got to get into that one before we wrap up here. Just fantastic to watch last night between the Golden Knights. I've done many a storm surge. Yes, I bet you have. We do appreciate this comment. And I don't think we can buy into this one. Meaney means business when the lettuce is on display. Yeah, about that. Okay, here we go. Kraken and where's Hammerhead with his Kraken? What are we? Dallas in 6, Meaney.
All the bets. Maybe he's retired. He lives on an island now.
He may be. He's winning all kinds of bets these days, but I don't know if he's gonna get the Kraken. Stars, man, they looked exactly how I thought they were going to look in Game 4 in Seattle. They came out very strong. And what we talked about on the show, we said that it could potentially happen where they could just go back to their old lines, and it just worked out perfectly for them. They put Joe Pavelski back on that top line. He scored. Our guy Rupe Hintz scored. Max Domi was great on that third line. Tyler Seguin looked good on that third line. Just so much balance up and down their lineup. I like the Stars again tonight, and I have said it all round long. I do still feel very, very strong about Dallas. I think that they have the best goaltender remaining in these NHL playoffs. I think that's very important. I think that they may be the deepest team as well. I think that they have 3 lines that can come at you and score goals. So I like Dallas again tonight. I'm going to go. I have no problem going back to Hintz, even though he only had 2 shots the other night. I thought he had a third. It looked like it went off the shoulder.
Everywhere, right?
He's just everywhere. I I like Hintz and Sagan. I actually like Sagan when he's on that third line, but I like Hintz. I like Pavelski for an assist tonight, and his shot props at 2.5, and I think it's pretty interesting price that I may just take a shot on here at plus 125 for 2.5. He's plus 160 for an Apple.
Yeah, tips count as shots too, right? And like,
and he's
going to be standing there, tipping pucks from the point on every power play. So that's a real good bet, I think.
And we keep talking about this guy, but Evgeny Dadonov, like he's
the
just
wizard.
I
Russian
don't know, man. He definitely doesn't look how he looked in Montreal early in the season. He's got a little bit of a giddy up in his skates. I'll tell you that.
Dead in Montreal.
Oh, I don't blame him. Right? What am I even doing out here? But he does have points in 3 straight games. He's got 3 assists in his last 2. We talked about him plus money in the last 2 episodes for a point and for the assist. He is plus 105 for a point and plus 175 for assist. In fact, that second line with Wyatt Johnson, Jamie Benn, and Dadonov created a ton of opportunity in games 1 and 2 at home. So whatever it is about the matchups, they're getting the ones that they want at home. In fact, Wyatt Johnson's been fantastic in terms of shot attempts in all of his home games. And on the road, he's been kind of quiet. So for DFS, I know a lot of people will go to that top line. Maybe they'll get involved with Domi because of the last game. But I think the line to attack tonight is Johnson, Benn, and Dadonov. I think they're going to show up at a big way tonight.
I got Dallas winning again tonight. Like you, I said that they would win the last game. I think my big worry for Seattle at this point is how
long can Grubauer continue? That's what it is.
Has he turned back into the pumpkin? Right, like
he might have.
That's kind of what it looked like to me. I mean, it's a great story, but the reality is he's 2 years of being a very bad goaltender. I mean, very bad the year before. Very inconsistent this year. There was a point where Martin Jones was the starting goalie for this team, and nobody knew what goalie they were going to go with, right? Like going into the playoffs, because neither of them were playing particularly well. Grubauer, in his defense, has been unbelievable and is probably reason number 1 they're in this position. But Dallas is just, man, they're so good. Nil, the GM there, chef's kiss to adding Domi and Dadonov. Like 2 really good offensive pieces, but they didn't have to give up a ton. It doesn't really twist or contort their lineup too much. It's just these really good contributing guys that are on the right side of all the important categories when you need them to be. Jamie Benn playing, maybe the best hockey over the last 2 or 3 years.
Nice bounce back season from him.
Wyatt Johnson's a child, he's been really good for them.
Good, yeah.
I've got Hintz, and I think Robertson gets on the board tonight. I mean, he's getting looks, he's getting some chances. He's
close.
Yeah, I think it goes for him tonight. So I'm going to be betting that, and I think I'm going to bet that pretty heavy. And I'm going to go with Jared McCann and Yanni Gourde on the other side. They get scoring from all over the place. It's really hard to predict, and it has been all year. But McCann back in the lineup, 40 goals this season. He's their best offensive player. And I think we see another gear from him tonight. And I love Yanni Gourde. And it's as simple as that. That's my analysis on Yanni Gourde. I love him.
It's good analysis. I'm kind of right there with you. What a little pest that guy is. I agree on Jason Robertson. I thought that was his best game of the series. He's been very, very quiet. I just think Pavelski back with those guys. It's been one of the best lines in the NHL since the start of the.
It was the best line in the NHL this year.
And last season was fantastic as well. Robertson had a couple nice attempts inside the slot. If I'm picking anyone to score a goal tonight, it actually would be him, Jason Robertson, even though I'm always a sucker for Rupe Hintz as well. Milton, this is fair. Give it to us. We deserve this. I'm late, but how about the Canes? Can y'all keep picking against them, please? I mean, and then we have Jay in there. I like you, Milton. Let's go. And we deserve it. We totally deserve all of it. I'm on the Canes. I think after seeing game 2 and another goalie pulled, I just completely changed my tune. And if now the Devils come back, Milton, give it to me again. It'll be my fault. But I am even though I am picking the Devils here tonight to win the game, I definitely don't think that this team is going to win the series. And I am very impressed with Carolina. I will certainly eat those words. I've been absolutely wrong about them. There's no question about that. As for McCann.
Uh-oh. We may have lost Christopher. Well, I mean, he's probably going to say what I was saying. I mean, McCann not playing a ton. There he is. Fact. I was just saying what you were saying about McCann is like obviously like sheltered usage, right? In the first time back.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to go over with
but I
him.
think this is increased tonight. I think, you know, their backs are against it, right? I mean, you got to let the horses run. And I think that's what Seattle does tonight.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to talk about with McCann, because he only played 946 in his return at 5-5. Brandon Tanev was the only guy who played fewer minutes. This is a guy that lives in the high teens. So I think just kind of easing him back into the swing of things, I think we'll see a little bit more from him tonight. And even in just those 9 minutes, he still finished with 2 shots and 3 attempts. I think that's, you know, pretty solid. We know that he's the shooter on that power play as well. So he ends up finishing that game playing 13 minutes with 3 shots and 6 attempts. He's minus 125 for 3 shots. This has been one of our favorite guys to go to all year. In fact, we hammered him so much that he moved to 3.5 shots, and he was almost minus money to score goals down the stretch. And we were continuing to go to him. So I definitely like McCann at over 2.5 shots as well. And I think Dallas finds a way to win the game, though. The lettuce causing internet issues. That was just one of this Apple mouse. I mean, you have to plug it in to charge it. And when you plug it in to charge it, you can't even use it. And it's just so like finicky. I think I just swiped and I went back on the page, and there you go. See you later. It's a good question. We're going to wrap up here in a minute. If you had to pick right now, what's your guys' Stanley Cup Finals matchup? Go ahead. What do you got?
My heart wants to say, in preservation of my bracket, it's still going to be Toronto and the Oilers. I still think the Oilers play for and win the Stanley Cup this year. But it may not be Toronto playing them. It very may well be Carolina.
This is actually what I've kind of come to over the past few days. My bracket had the Oilers winning the Stanley Cup. I still really like them. And obviously McDavid and Draisaitl, the fact so far we've seen their backs against the wall like 2 or 3 times in these playoffs, and they've just taken it to another level. But I just don't think I believe in Stuart Skinner. This guy is shaky. He is shaky between the pipes. Even last night, he made a couple saves early where I felt like it just hit him. And I really like where this Dallas team is at. And I think the reason for me is Jake Ottinger. If I look at Bobrovsky, he's playing good. How long can he keep it up? Toronto's down to Wool, and they're down 3-1 in the series. The Devils have no goaltending at all to think about. Over Stuart Skinner, questionable. Aiden Hill, right? I mean, are they going to go to Jonathan Quick in the next team? They may. They have some questions. Stuart Skinner, questions. So to me, I think Jake Ottinger is by far the best goalie remaining. I think Freddie Anderson is good too, and his numbers are fantastic here. Besides, he gets pulled, but very small sample. He's solid as well, but he's had some highs and lows, especially at this time of the season, going back to his Toronto days. But I think he's good enough to bring this team to the finals. I think we could see it. I think I'm kind of where Adam's at. Canes and Stars. It's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't necessarily want to see it. No offense to all you Hurricanes fans all of a sudden in the chat. Like, I think Edmonton and Florida would be highly entertaining. I think maybe even Edmonton and Toronto would be highly entertaining as well. But maybe we're counting out the Panthers here. They just beat the best team of all time, and they're up 3-1 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Is a really good team as well. So maybe we're kind of discrediting what they're doing. And one thing we can say, Bobrovsky is in the zone right now. That guy is playing like a $10 million goalie.
I don't think it lasts. I mean, he's older. He hasn't played this amount of hockey back to back in a long time. And the reason he hasn't is because he's been bad. He's been bad for 2 years. And he's the reason they're in this position. And I can't take that away from him, but I just don't think that he can maintain this level of play, and it just has to do with the fact that he hasn't been this good in 2 years. All of a sudden now he's back to being Bobrovsky. I don't buy it, man. I don't buy it.
Sometimes goalies just go on hot runs, man, though. Like, it's just they just go on hot runs. They're in grooves, like they're feeling them. It's like that's why you always hear people say goalies are voodoo.
And if he continues to be in one, it wouldn't surprise me that they go all the way to the Stanley Cup. I agree with you that Ottinger is the best goalie, and I think overall the deepest team is the Dallas Stars. And man, they look dangerous. Dangerous.
Okay, we're gonna say goodbye to Game Plus. We appreciate you. We're gonna go about 5 more minutes. We want to get into the Edmonton Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights as well. I'm actually going to be at Game 6 in the barn, and I'm super excited about that. I can't wait. Got tickets last night, and it should be absolutely electric. So I do believe we'll be back to hang out with you on Tuesday. If not, you may need a guest for Tuesday's show. We'll see how the flights work out. I don't have a flight back, but I am planning on being back late Monday, early Tuesday morning. We'll see what happens there. We're going to say goodbye to Game Plus Network. Certainly appreciate you. If you want to hop over, see the last few minutes of the show, dive into the Oilers and the Golden Knights, by all means, join us. Good luck on the ice tonight. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers. Okay. Last night. Thoughts?
It's a wild
Edmonton
one.
and Vegas. Man, is it ever? It's old time.
The scoreboard said one thing, and I mean, the first period, Edmonton, just the pressure and the skating, they just obliterated Vegas in the first period. I think there was decent pushback from Vegas. I think they controlled a ton of the second period, but by that far, at that point, like they just, the Edmonton Oilers were just in the driver's seat, and that's. If they play like that, nobody can beat them. It doesn't matter what Stuart Skinner does. And I think he was really good early on when he needed to be, and then let in a couple, not great goals. But, like he just has to stop the ones that make them lose. I know that's a stupid analysis, but this is what Grant Fuhr did with those generational Edmonton Oilers teams. The Oilers would win 5-4. It's not like Grant Fuhr wasn't letting in goals. He was just the ones he absolutely needed to stop. He stopped. And if Skinner can do that, this team is going to win the Stanley Cup. Draisaitl, I saw this hilarious quote on Twitter, is going to the game tonight, in Edmonton, to watch the greatest player in the world. Connor McDavid will be there too. And, it's insane that these two guys are on the same team. Leon Draisaitl is having an all-time playoff, right? He's on another level, just another level. It's insane to watch. Vegas is still good. They're still deep. I think there's going to be tons of pushback. Goaltending. Here we go again, right? Brossoit gets hurt. You feel for him. Aiden Hill comes in, looked okay in the first game, looked brutal last night. Like, he was chasing the puck and just not seeing it. That's what it seemed like to me. And they might start Jonathan Quick, who hasn't been good in 3 years. So I think Vegas is cooked.
Oh, I think they'll hang around. I think that Edmonton will win, but I think it's going to go the distance. I think that
I hope it does.
One thing we have seen from that series and a couple other ones, it's been adjustments, right? And you get your butt whooped, and then you make some adjustments and you counter, right? And we've kind of seen that in this series and in other series as well. It's been a little bit back and forth, a lot of one-sided games, but a little bit back and forth. But yeah, the goaltending is probably going to be the issue for the Golden Knights. I mean, Aiden Hill has just made his first career start last night, and I just feel like it's a bit of a wash. Well. I don't really like Stewart either, but I feel like Edmonton is a little bit quicker, more explosive offensively, and the power play is definitely a big part of that as well. So I don't think I have too much more to add. We can probably get out of here. I would expect Edge. I mean, I don't know if I can even say that with confidence to say that I expect a 1-game suspension. I just can't trust the player safety. I don't know what
who knows
they're doing, but that
maybe
was
he gets erased. Maybe they give him money. I mean,
there's a couple things. I mean, we could see a suspension from Darnell Nurse. If you get a instigator penalty under 5 minutes in the game, it's actually an automatic suspension, but it can be reviewed. So, I mean, he definitely charged. I think it was at Clegg, right? Clegg to fight him. What a tilt. I mean, what a fight that was, honestly. Clegg, yeah, I think it was him.
Hag,
yeah, sorry, Hag. What a fight that was. Both of those guys were just throwing haymakers. It was fantastic. I loved every second of it. It may just be the NHL's cop out. Like, okay, here's a game for Nurse. Here's a game for Alex Pietrangelo. But man, Pietrangelo, there was really no need of that. I noticed that he's a sneaky, dirty player when the Habs played the Golden Knights in the quote unquote Western Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals, whatever it was in the third round of the bubble. He's a little bit chippy, but Evander Kane is also clearly chippy, and he does his job really well. And just before that, he flattened Pietrangelo, a borderline hit from behind, and that is what got Pietrangelo completely fired up. It could have cost. Kane does his job where he throws guys off, but it also could have cost Draisaitl's wrist, because that was just a completely vicious slash well after the play, two-hand slash. There's no place.
I mean, insane. We haven't seen a slash like that in maybe a decade.
He should get a game or two for that, and he probably won't get two, but I wouldn't be shocked if he got a game and Nurse maybe got a game. But, you know, when it comes down today, we see maybe a fine. That's another thing that we could see, and which would just be ludicrous. You can't have that stuff on star players in the league. You got to protect them. Yeah,
and the fines are a joke. Like maximum allowable $5,000. I mean, the dude spends that on dinner. He doesn't give a shit about $5,000.
No, he doesn't.
Multi-millionaire.
Okay, so you like the Oilers tomorrow night? You like the Oilers to win Game 5 in Vegas?
I do.
One thing I will say is Marchessault, the shot props are probably too juiced now. It would take anything over 3.5. I mean, this guy had 17 shots in the first 3 games, and I think he had rattled off like 6 or 7 last night. He had like 8 or 9 attempts, man. He had so many chances to score a goal. He's been very, very visible to me, in my opinion, and so has Jack Eichel. Those would be the 2 Golden Knights to attack in terms of props and shot attempts. And we could see a bounce back from Leon Draisaitl. I think if Hyman's at 2.5, you take him into a parlay. Evan Bouchard, point, assist. Didn't get the assist last night, but he continues to rack up points. He's at a point in every game but one. So he is definitely somebody to keep an eye on for tomorrow evening. And I still like overs, even though we're not really getting them. I do still like overs in that series because the goaltending is just so shaky. Let's regroup here. What do you got on your card tonight? Let's talk the 4 games. Let's give a prediction for the 4 games and a couple goal scorers for them as well. Let's start here with the Hurricanes and the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, I think Jersey wins tonight, and I think it's going to be because of Akira Schmid. I've got Meyer, Hughes, Natchez, and Aho. The Dallas side, I think Dallas wins. And I think Robertson shows up in a big way. I think he scores, Hint scores, and I got Gordon McCann on the Seattle side. My lock would be Timo Meier. His game, he looks like the Timo Meier that New Jersey thought they were going to get, man. He's looked really, really good.
He has looked really good, especially lately, I would say.
Yes.
For me,
literally the last 2 or 3 games. I mean, the last 2 especially. That's the player that we all envisioned that he would be, and it looks like that's happening now.
I wonder if I should just follow the trend here with overs in this series. I did not think that this would be a high-scoring series, but there's been no good goaltending. Like, the goaltending is just so brutal. We can get 5.5, over 5.5 at -125. I think I'm going to do it. Like, my gut tells me a 3-2 game, but we could get an empty net goal, anything like that could help us. And just the way that I just think I have to do it because the goaltending for New Jersey has just been so brutal. I know you're expecting a bounce back from Schmid, and can he be like brutal in every appearance in this series? I don't know. He's probably due for a good game, but I do like the Devils. Now I have a slight lean to the over at 5.5 at -125 following a trend. And speaking of trends, Martinook, right? I mean, he's plus 350 for a goal. He's plus 205 for an assist. He's plus 112 for a point. I'll probably do the point. I'll probably put a unit on the point, half a unit on the assist, and maybe even like 0.25 on the goal. And Adam had the call on here. BetMGM is hanging plus 675 for him to have a 2.9. He's had at least 2 points in every game in this series. Natchez, 3 shots. Hughes, 4 shots. Nico Hischier, 3 shots. I think in order for the Devils to win here, those big boys really have to show up tonight. And in an elimination game, if they're down, we could see double shifts. We could see longer shifts from them. We could see them hang out on the full power play. Things like that are going to happen here. On the Dallas side, I like the Stars as well. In fact, I like them to win in 60. I think that I was considering taking them on the puck line, but the Kraken just kind of hang around and you can never really count them out. But minus 120 for the Dallas Stars to win in regulation tonight. I am on them. I'm on Rupe Hintz over 2.5 shots. I'm on Joe Pavelski over 2.5 shots. I'm on Pavelski for an assist. And I like Jared McCann over 2.5 shots at minus 130. Evgeny Dadonov for a point at plus 105. That's where I'm at. I saw somebody talk about Sagan. I could get behind that as well. My goal scorer for this game would be Jason Robertson. And I think we both like him. As for tomorrow, I think the Leafs do win. I think that they find a way to force a sixth, and I think it'll be all over for them on Sunday in Game 6 in Florida. I would like William Nylander for over 3.5 shots. He finally scored, but he's been one of the most consistent Leafs in terms of shot attempts throughout the entire playoffs. Matthews has been there as well, but Matthews is at 4.5. We can get Nylander at 3.5. I'm going to like Sam Bennett and Brandon Montour on the road. Sam Reinhart, keep an eye on him for your DFS lineups, because I think that's been the biggest difference that I've noticed in this series is that the Florida Panthers' third line has kind of lived in Toronto's zone, end zone throughout the entire second round here. That third line's been really good with Lindell and Luosterainen. And then for Edmonton and Vegas, I'm going to lean here with the Oilers to win that game on the road. And I think we'll see maybe Vegas win in 6 to force a 7th. I do think that series is going to go 7. We'll see what happens, who Vegas is going to roll out between the pipes. If it is quick, I'm going to be taking the over. It's probably going to be at 7 anyway, so it's kind of tough to bet that. But I'm going to take a look at, as we just said, Bouchard for an assist or for a point or for a power play point. I'm going to get McDavid for shots over Draisaitl. I'm going to lean McDavid over Draisaitl. I'm going to take Zach Hyman 2.5, and I'm going to take Jonathan Marchessault, and I'm going to be in on Mr. Eichel as well. All right, we did it. Hour long show. Any final words from you?
Go on forever.
We
nope,
really
enjoy the hockey. Second round has been nuts. Hopefully we get some close games, and hopefully all of the series go 7 games. That's my wish.
I know why you're saying that. All right.
I love hockey.
Yeah, you love hockey. All right. We do appreciate all you guys hanging out with us super long here on the show. Hopefully we have some success betting tonight in the NHL. We still are running free trials over at ftnbets.com and ftndaily.com, as you see here, ftnbets.com/free. 3-day trial, Discord channels, split up into all sports, picks across all sports from everybody, projections, tools. I know it's been a rocky round too. I definitely feel like I owe you guys a couple solid bets. So head on over there. Hopefully we can have a solid day here tonight. And then ftndaily.com/free. Optimizers in the MLB, NBA, and NASCAR and PGA. And before you know it, the NFL will be here. It is May 11th, and the schedule is getting released today. So it is basically NFL season as well. But tonight it's hockey. Good luck on the ice. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Tuesday. Cheers.